Last December, photos surfaced of padded, windowless wooden boxes the size of a child. They appeared to be in elementary school classes at the Salmon River School District, which includes part of the Akwesasne Mohawk Reservation. The photos sparked fear and outrage. Pressed by parents, the superintendent confirmed that 2 of them had in fact been used to confine children as discipline. The facts are spotty beyond that. And today, several investigations are ongoing. But parents in the community want answers, and many say they've lost faith in their schools. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Friday, March 20th. First up, new legislation would tighten the procedures for people who visit New York State prisons. Jimmy Vielkind with the New York Public News Network reports.
People who want to embrace incarcerated loved ones need to pass through full body scanners. The goal is to keep out drugs and other contraband. But State Senator Julia Salazar says those scanners can sometimes get set off by piercings or even tampons. She says that means people are being unfairly barred from visits.
When wives, mothers, sisters, family members are told that they failed a body scan, rarely is contraband actually found or charges brought.
Salazar's bill would clarify the appeals process. It would also require corrections officers to be randomly screened by body scanners. A spokesperson for Governor Hochul says she'll review the legislation if it passes. In Albany, I'm Jimmy Vielkind for the New York Public News Network.
The fallout from the Salmon River School District in northern Franklin County using those wooden boxes to discipline children is deepening. Just 2 months after assuming the role, Salmon River's interim superintendent resigned yesterday. The high school principal was tapped to take his place. The leadership instability comes as a wave of community members, many of them Akwesasne Mohawks, say they've lost faith in the entire school district. Amy Feiereisel has our story.
The deep mistrust at Salmon River burst into the open again at a packed school board meeting last Wednesday night. Sarah Gunwahahawi Hearn, the mother of a 3rd grader in the district, said you could feel tension and anxiety in the air.
We're all looking for answers. We've all asked for answers since December. We're all kind of holding our breath to see what the school is going to do, but we're also at our limit of waiting for those things to happen.
December is when photos of plywood timeout boxes in the district's elementary schools started circulating online. Parents said they believed their children, some nonverbal or autistic, had been confined in those boxes. The news caused a flurry of outrage locally and across the state. Even Governor Kathy Hochul weighed in, saying the boxes were, quote, highly disturbing and calling for the district to be investigated. Within days, the school board placed a number of staff on administrative leave, and it hired a commercial law firm to conduct an investigation. One of the firm's attorneys shared the results at the board meeting. The investigation found that the timeout boxes were used and constituted multiple violations of state education regulations. However, it concluded there was no evidence of corporal punishment, restraint, or abuse in the use of the boxes. The report said staff characterized the boxes as, quote, de-escalation spaces, and that they were used in the special education department. Gunwahahawi Hearn says the lawyer's report didn't reflect what she had heard in community reports about the use of the boxes.
That she interviewed 42 people, none of which are people that we have talked to in community who have been impacted by this box. So whoever she was talking to, whoever disclosed what her report is inaccurate.
Then public comment opened. Parents were angry. They demanded more accountability, a public apology, and for the entire current school board to resign. Then a parent got up and started detailing how her daughter had been mistreated by a school bus monitor. Other audience members chimed in to say they also had had problems with the same person. As this was happening, the school board president, Jason Brockway, attempted to adjourn public comment several times. Finally, the board abruptly ended the meeting altogether. Chrissy Jacobs, a former board member and another district parent, says there's a bigger issue here that goes back decades.
Going into the school board meeting, we already have been lied to by the district. We have been gaslit by school board members and staff and administrators themselves. The lawyer's report was just the cherry on top of the cake.
Jacobs says many community members have lost faith entirely in the school district. School board president Jason Brockway says he understands the community's frustration.
I was very concerned, and so was the rest of the Board of Education, with the allegations were brought forward. We took them very seriously, and it matters to us because we're all parents and aunts and uncles and grandparents and friends of the families of these students.
But he said the board is constrained and has to follow due process, which takes time. For example, to fire the superintendent or special education director, the board would have had to start judicial proceedings. But both voluntarily chose to retire, which they are contractually allowed to do. A community concern voiced by Chrissy Jacobs was that the report laid primary responsibility on the now retired special education director and a district behaviorist who has been terminated. Jacobs said other administrators had to have known about the boxes.
To go on to say, well, the school principals aren't to blame, these people aren't to blame, is totally insulting to the community. Community members, staff members, they were visibly shaking their heads in disagreement with the report.
I asked Brockway what he would say to community members who have called for a clean house, firing all the district's administration. He said they can't operate that way.
You can't brush the entire faculty and staff at Salmon River Central with a wide brush and say you're all guilty of something, because they're not. There's some really great people there that care deeply about the kids and are doing great things, and they don't deserve to be lumped into that. That's very unfair to them.
There's a critical backstory here. The existence of these boxes evokes the ever-present trauma of residential schools, which generations of Native American children were forced to attend in the United States and Canada. They suffered physical violence, abuse, and identity erasure in those institutions. Over half of Salmon River students are of St. Regis Mohawk tribe descent. School board president Jason Brockway says he gets that.
I understand that there's a lot of generational trauma. That really is a thing. My heart goes out to them on how they feel about these things. And I don't want them to think that we're tone deaf, because we're not.
But he says the reason the board abruptly ended last Wednesday's meeting is because they can't allow speakers to make allegations that name students or employees during public comment, which was happening.
So we ended the meeting the way that we did to maintain confidentiality and privacy.
Brockway says the board is committed to trying to fix systematic problems and listed some of their actions: working with the state's special education department, putting staff through cultural sensitivity and parental communication training, hiring a special education consultant to change the district's practices. But the district is in turmoil. They now have a second interim superintendent. Sarah Hearn and Chrissy Jacobs, who both spoke at the board meeting and are part of what's called the Anti-Circle, an informal Haudenosaunee advocacy group, say many community members left the meeting feeling disrespected and shut down. Hearn says it was shocking when the board walked out.
And it goes to show that they don't really care about us. They don't really care what we have to say or what we want to do or how we want to improve the situation. They only want to hear what they want to hear.
There are two other investigations into Salmon River currently underway, one by the New York Department of Education, another by a group called Disability Rights New York. Chrissy Jacobs said some parents are considering pulling their children from the district altogether, and that the gulf between the community and the school system is widening. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
We have more news all the time and through the weekend on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Eddie Lawrence of Saranac Lake and Tim Ellifritz of Johnsburg. Have a great weekend. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.